Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. Hope everyone is having a pleasant evening. Yeah, something slightly different on the stream today. I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through the last video, which is performing pretty well on YouTube, which is nice to see. But I think there's a lot I kind of probably gloss over in the name of kind of editing for YouTube. So I thought it'd be fun to basically see if I can remember what I did and recreate it live and kind of go through some of the challenges and some of the tricky bits. We'll see how it goes and we'll see how far it gets. I only kind of plan on doing this in this stream, but we'll see what happens. I normally stream for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, so I think we'll see how much we can get done on that. I will make the video available on the channel afterwards for everyone if you can't hang around for the whole thing. But yeah, I think we'll see what happens. Let's give a couple minutes for people to kind of filter through. If Twitch is your thing, then this is also dual streamed to Twitch, so feel free to hop on over there if you prefer. I believe I have a multi-chat setup thing now, so I should be able to see everyone's messages as they come in and respond. I do try and respond. Usual spiel. I try and respond to everyone's comments, but I will definitely respond to super chats and stuff like that. Otherwise, I will try and get round to everyone as we're kind of getting through the work. But yeah, I think I saw one question. I have no videos on Rust because I don't know Rust, so it would be very weird for me to do a video on Rust. I've been meaning to learn Rust for a while, at least have a play around with it. I have some colleagues at work who are quite into it and speak very highly of it as a language, especially as a sort of systems language, so I'd like to spend some time looking through it, but not yet. Pin message, yes, let's do that. I think someone said this last time, and I thought, that's a good idea, I'll remember to do that next time, and clearly didn't. Nope, that's my... Nope. Alright, I think this is me. Yes, this is me. Okay. Send and I can't pin it because the UI has put the emoji button over it. So yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah, it'd be nice to kind of go through some of the tooling as well, because again, I kind of gloss over that because I use a lot of the same tooling and a lot of the same videos. I've kind of stopped doing an introduction to like what the debugger and what the disassembler is, because I feel like it get repetitive. And it's a chance for people to ask questions as well, and kind of I feel it challenges me a little bit to try and defend the the video a little bit live. My background in programming is it started now. This is the preamble. I'm about to start typing code now. Start going through it. My background is I've been a professional software engineer for over a decade, mainly focusing in C++, but I've also dabbled in C# and Python, and more recently I've done a little bit of TypeScript and front-end stuff, so reasonable, and a large chunk of that I've also done reverse engineering and sort of low-level stuff like that, so it's kind of a mixed bag. Okay, so I've got the game. Seems like a fair starting point. I've paid money for the game, because you can pay money for the game and get it. It's not abandonware. And if you just to run it normally, it will pick up a rendering backend that is supported on the system, and it will go. I'm not going to run it now because the way I've got the way I've got OBS set up on my big screen, I think it'll probably clip it off. But anyway, so like a lot of games, it supports multiple rendering backends. So there's different APIs that you can use to interact with the graphics card, or at the very low level, just like your screen, frame buffer, DirectX, OpenGL, Metal, etc., etc. Diablo 2 supports a multiple of rendering backends. I think it's DirectDraw, which is a Windows API, and it also supports something called Glide, which is a API specifically for the Voodoo graphics cards. Now, I'm not an expert on graphics card hardware. I don't know if there's wider support outside of that, but in my mind, Glide means like the old style Voodoo cards, the ones that had the really cool box art. So, from my kind of limited research, it seems that, at least at the time, the Glide API was preferred if you had the hardware backing it. I think it might have supported better resolutions or was maybe more optimized, but a lot of people, I think the idea was that you would get the best experience if you had the Glide, if you could use the Glide API and have the had the requisite hardware. Now, most people don't have Voodoo cards. I can't imagine many people still having one of those in their setup. So but the code is still there, right? It'll still try and connect with the card. It'll still try and load that code, but it's just not shipped with it anymore. And we'll see kind of what that means in a minute. So by default, when you run it, it'll pick, I don't know, Direct Draw or whatever one of the other ones are. But you can force it to try and use Glide or 3dfx, or I think 3dfx is the company and Glide is the API. So hang on, some context coming in. 3dfx got bought by NVIDIA. It happened right after you bought your Voodoo 5000, and you still have it in one of your retro rigs. Nice. I think it's important to keep old hardware and stuff alive. I've definitely still got an N64 and a Dreamcast around somewhere, which kind of cherish and hold on to. So yeah, brought out by NVIDIA, who presumably decided that they would swallow it up and discontinue it in favour of their graphics cards. But yeah, you can kind of force. So you can kind of force to use this. All right. So if I try and run the game, and I pass it the 3dfx flag, this will basically say to Diablo 2, hey, use the 3dfx supplied backend, which will be the Glide API. This is WSL, so it looks like it is Linux, but it will launch Windows applications natively. So I'm not running this like kind of natively on Linux. There's nothing magic there. It's just my preferred setup. So yeah, let's run that, and then straight away error 1. So the first error or the second error, if it's 0 indexed, it's impossible to say. Diablo 2 is unable to proceed, unsupported graphics mode, which kind of makes sense. So what some enterprising person, who I believe is called Sven, has done, has basically written their own API that looks like a Glide API, but and exposes all the same functions as the Glide rendering backend and the Glide library, and packaged up as a Glide DLL that the game will try and load. But it transforms all those calls to OpenGL, so you can kind of still get the Glide code paths, but will translate into a more modern, more modern API with wider support. And that's cool, and that, I think, is the way a lot of people run the game. I think there are other ways. You've obviously got like the remaster one. I think there's D2GL or something, which is another wrapper. So that'll just work. Now, when I saw this, I was like, that's cool, but how does it work? And it sounded to me like a kind of fun challenge to kind of recreate that. I would say that there's absolutely no need to do this. In fact, it's a lot of work for kind of very little material gain, in the sense that I'm never going to have the time or the energy to create a full wrapper for Glide to any API, especially when there's full-blooded, full-working ones that communities are actively working on now out there. But for me, it's just kind of like it's a puzzle that needs to be that I want to solve, and the fact that someone else has solved it is kind of irrelevant. A lot of my videos, the work has already been done. Like, people have found keygens and bypasses for stuff I've done, for fixed bugs that I found. But it's kind of, for me, it's the journey rather than the destination. I want to figure out how that works. How can I create that rather than just using someone else's work? And I think then sharing that on YouTube kind of shows people maybe a different side of software engineering, and reverse engineering. Hopefully shows people some different tools, and kind of, I want to show people like what is possible, rather than just say, if you want to run Diablo 2 modern graphics, use this. But to kind of put a bit of a spin on it, I thought it'd be fun to see if I can get it work with Vulkan, which is a horrifically complex API, and I'm not a graphics programmer. I've read the Vulkan tutorial that everyone's read, and kind of giving it a good go, basically. Maybe I didn't get as far as I would have liked for the video, and I think a few people in the video were like, oh, understand, like, where's the rest of it? But that whole video took me about 4 weeks to do, and most of that was the technical content. I mean, like, I think that was about 4 weeks of technical content, not including filming and editing and script writing and thumbnail design and all the other YouTube chuff that goes along with it. That was just like 4 weeks of me bashing my head against Vulkan and Ghidra. So yeah, that's kind of, I wanted to try and give this a go myself, and having done it, or at least done enough that I think kind of satisfied my intellectual curiosity, I'm now here to try and do it again, but live. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start today, like 1,000 lines to easily 1,000 lines to render a triangle. I don't know if we'll get that far today. I want to kind of start building the wrapper again, going to go through the translation layer. If we can put in some of the Vulkan stuff, we will, but we'll see how far we get. But I think there's a lot of fun stuff to kind of go along the way, because, you know, the whole point with a lot of YouTube videos, you kind of sort of, you want to smash cut straight into like the interesting part and get people interested, and then so there's a lot of the preamble and a lot of the research I just sort of cut out. I was like, just ignore that bit because it's maybe less interesting, but I'm hoping the fact that you're all here, you are interested, so we'll kind of do it. So anyway, that's me prattling on for quite a while. Let's look at some code. So I have Ghidra here. All like debugging reverse engineering tools, I believe there's some sort of hidden agreement between all developers that the UI has to be really hard to read. So if this is a little bit small, I will try and embiggen it, but yeah, just let me know if you can't read this. So what I've done here is I've opened up the game, the executable that the game launches in this tool. This is Ghidra. It's a open source disassembler and decompiler. What that means is it will take your assembled the assembly code from a compiled program, and it will show you the instructions. That's the disassembly part, and then the decompilation part is it will have a sort of like heuristic go at turning that back into C code. It's not perfect by any means. In fact, sometimes the C is harder to read than the assembly, but it gives you a good starting point, I'd say. So yeah, I've opened up the game. Why not IDA? Because Ghidra is free. Because the price is right with Ghidra. I used to use IDA many years ago when I worked for a company that paid for it. But I've actually been using Ghidra for quite a few years now, and it works for me. I'm not saying IDA isn't better. I think IDA, last time I looked, IDA's decompiler was more sophisticated and better, but like I say, the price is right with Ghidra, and it's kind of developed by a small government agency as well in America, so it has a little bit of kind of support and backing behind it. So when I first kind of started this project, I kind of looked at the documentation and like how, like the setup guide that people have when they want to use the Sven, we'll call it the Sven wrapper, and it's, as far as I can tell, it's just a DLL that you drop in to the directory of where your game is, and then when you do -3dx, it picks it up. So to me, I mean, you could search for the string of that error message and you could try and like pass it out, but at some point it's got to load that library. Like if you give it a glide 3dfx whatever DLL, at some point the code's going to load that. So the first thing I did was just find all the calls to load library. So load library is the Win32 function for loading a DLL off disk, and give it a path and it'll load it into your program. So my assumption is at some point this calls load library, the program at some point calls load library on the glide wrapper, or the glide DLL, which could be a wrapper. Yeah, so sorry, just trying to keep up with some of the comments. I learned this just from like part job, part interest, just writing software and then sort of pulling it apart and seeing how it worked under the hood. Like, it kind of got me interested in this kind of thing, and then just practice and just reverse engineering more and more bigger and bigger things. So what am I doing with D2 specifically? We're going to try and look at how to create a wrapper around a graphics API that no longer exists and forward those calls to ideally to Vulkan. So in theory, we could get Diablo 2 running under Vulkan, which is quite amusing. There's a YouTube video on this. This is more of a deep dive into that video. So anyway, so if you do Control-Shift-F on a symbol, this will tell you all the places it's called. So this is everywhere in the code that is calling this, or at least that Ghidra's been able to find. There's obviously kind of weird indirect ways you could do this, but by and large, for normal code, this is everyone who's loading a library. So like you just click them, then it loads it behind the scenes. So all I did was I was just kind of idly flicking through these until I saw something that was interesting. So you can kind of see here, is there anything interesting here? That it's loading the debug help library, whatever that is. Here it's loading advapi i32, which I think is a video playing DLL. And then here it's, oh no, advapi, or is that the crypto one? Because here it's getting crypt create hash, crypt destroy hash. It's trying to find functions in that library. And keep going down. At some point, one of these takes a little bit longer to load. I was like, oh, this is going to be a big function. And I was like, here you go, load library. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Oh, that didn't help. Let's go bold. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit easier to read. So I was like, here you go. Glide3x.dll load library. So this function here loads that. This is my actual IDA database from the video, so I've already renamed some of these variables. By default, this would be like something useless, like dat087558, which means it's effectively a global variable. If you double click this, you'll find it here in the memory. So this is basically saying load library and stick the handle that's the result of this into this bit of global memory here. And I was just like, well, I'm never going to remember what dat 008758888 is. So I'll just rename it. And then if you press L in Ghidra, it can rename a variable. So now everywhere that references that global data just sees it as g glide3x.dll. I don't think Control Plus works in Ghidra. No. And I'm kind of hesitant to press random hotkeys in Ghidra because who knows what it might do, or maybe it does. Oh, okay, fine. There you go. I learned something. I think I've tried Control Mouse Scroll before. Anyway, kind of relevant. We're here now. So then the next thing it does is it tries to resolve all the function it needs. So it calls get proc address, and you can see the first argument is the handle to the DLL. And then it gives it a string, which is like a symbol name. So it's like, can you please tell me the address of this symbol in this library? And these are all the glide functions, or at least all the ones that this program cares about. So there's like gr glide init and I don't know, gr text combine and gr get and all these great ones. And so some of these I started renaming because I knew I'd need them later. But again, all this you can kind of see in the code here. So gr fog table. It sticks it in more global data basically. So these resolves all the addresses, and this is quite common. Like you have to do this in OpenGL, just because the way OpenGL works on Windows, you have to normally manually load the library and then resolve all the functions you want, or use Glut or Glue or some kind of wrapper library that does it all for you. So in this case, I'm not going to be actually editing or patching any of the executable code that the game was built with. I mean, I've done that in other videos and for other projects. What I'm going to actually do is just the way Windows works is like this will search for a file called glide3x.dll. So if I provide my own glide3x.dll, this game will just load it, and then it will start trying to find all these functions in it. So if I build my own DLL and provide all these function names, then the game will think that's the glide3x DLL, and it will continue. And that's basically what the Sven wrapper does. Is it does that, and then when you call like gr draw line, it will convert that to gl draw line or whatever the OpenGL equivalent is. So I wanted to kind of have a play around doing that for Vulkan. So and then at the bottom it basically checks that all these were resolved, and then if it doesn't find them all, then there's a lot of brackets. Look at them brackets. This will check that they're all resolved, and if not, it'll error out. Why they're doing this manually instead of letting the linker do it? Because I suspect they want to be able to ship different DLLs, maybe and update them. I don't know why the executable isn't kind of dynamically linked against it to resolve it, rather than doing load library. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there's a reason for it. So you have to bear in mind that all these brackets here, this is just the decompiler. There's absolutely no reason to think that some programmer at Blizzard actually did all this in one thing. This is just because remember, this code has also gone through an optimizer or whatever optimizers existed at the time. So this is decompiling the optimized assembly back into its best guess. So this is just like this is basically it saying, here is some C code that could have been written to generate this assembly. It's not saying that this is exactly what Blizzard wrote. You can't. C and C++ and compiled languages just don't work like that. C#, got .peak or something, you can go backwards. Probably same with Java. I mean, Python is any scripting language, you've kind of got it. But for the compiled languages, it's only ever kind of like a heuristic, like a best effort. So yeah, I won't be executing any of this. Like for other projects, I've had to kind of copy this out and modify it to kind of do stuff. That's kind of how I do keygens and stuff like that. But that's kind of separate. Yeah, I've written x86 assembly. For my sins, it's a terrible architecture. I think ARM is better, but maybe my hot take for the day. Anyway. So what we want to do is we want to start writing some code that can kind of become that DLL. So I've set up a simple CPP file, and we're going to build this out into a DLL, and we're just going to basically slowly start building out what I did for the video. I mean, my favorite calling convention is whatever the standard one is, so I don't have to change it. So is that like std call on x86 on GCC or on Linux? Yeah, anything where I don't have to provide my own like decal type or whatever is my favorite. But this 64-bit one is pretty good. Pass the first 6 arguments in the registers, then stack after that. Okay, so I've got a simple CMake file as well, which just builds this. So actually, I'm gonna start with editing the CMake, because I just built this as an executable just to check it all built. So what I actually want is a library, and I've called the project glide3x, so produced by default a glide3x.dll, especially if I make it shared. That should work for us. So let's just build that. So I should now have a glide3x.dll. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy glide3x.dll, and I'm going to stick that in mount C program files x86 Diablo 2. Right, so stick that in there. So now in my Diablo file, I've got all the Diablo things that are going to do Diablo things. I've got the Diablo 2 exe, which actually just calls game.exe. And then somewhere in here I should have glide3x.dll. So in theory, now this should call that. What we can do, actually, so I'm not going to want a main anymore. That's not going to help anyone. What I can do is create a special function that Windows will ensure automatically gets called for us when the DLL is loaded, and then we can kind of use that to prove to ourselves that we are indeed loading the DLL. So that's kind of my next step was like, okay, anyone can compile something called glide3x.dll. How can I prove to myself that the game is actually picking up and loading it, other than just it not showing that error anymore? Yes, I'm using C++23. I'm kind of pretty keen on keeping up with the latest and greatest, and it's also, it's my code, so I'm free to use whatever I want. Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Very kind. Sorry, load of I was, got into the zone of talking about DLLs then, and a few more questions have come in. Am I going to publish the code? So this came up a lot in the comments, and I did put a community post up about it. I borrowed a bunch of like glide code that I found around the place, and it is open sourced, but I'm not a lawyer, and I've not gone through its license to see whether it'd be compatible with like what that means for the code that I would then have to release, if that makes sense. Because just like being open source, I think is kind of there's more I'm not a lawyer, but there's more to it than that. There's multiple open source licenses, right? So it might say, it might be copyleft, or I have to release the additional code that I have as part of a different license, or I have to make sure that certain readmes and license files are included, and blah, 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 blah. So I've just not had the time to kind of sit down and work that out. Also, the code isn't great. It's literally just like one big CPU file with a bunch of like Vulkan code stuck in it. I don't know if it's any useful to anyone. But anyway, we'll see how we get on. So first thing I'm going to do is going to hash include everyone's favourite file, which is windows.h, which basically gives you access to almost all, but definitely not everything in the Windows API. That comment and give that a like. And then I will do it's Windows, so all the types are angry uppercase. Win API. DL main, DL main. So and then it's h-inst. So I do have some notes up as well. H-instance, h-inst DLL. Just looking at what I did from last time. D-word, fudwa, reason, LP void, LPV reserved. So what this is a special function in Windows, which basically says if this is part of a shared library and that shared library is loaded, please call this function when that code is loaded into the process that is loading it. So what we can do is basically we can kind of use this to write out some code to have some sort of side effect which kind of proves to ourselves that it's been loaded. Obviously this will not work because you need the magical extern C. If anyone is not aware what that does, this prevents the C++ name mangling. In C++ you can have function overload, so you can have the same function with the same name but with different arguments, and if it's in a class, different like CV qualifiers. So basically, as a long story short, the way the kind of linker handles that is it does name mangling. It embeds additional information about the function parameters into the name of the function. So all your functions actually get different names once they pass through the whole compilation process out into the executable. An extern C base says don't do that because Windows will be looking for a symbol very specifically called DLL main, not DLL main HI or VP void pointer U PV or whatever it attaches onto the end. Is there a way that we can reuse the existing GlideFX DLL so that all the rendicles still work, but we can add in our additional methods? I'm not really sure what the sort of end goal is there. You could reverse engineer. The Sven wrapper is not open source. You could reverse engineer it and patch it and do whatever you want, or you could just do what I'm doing and just find those methods and do what you want. Sorry if the autocomplete is annoying you, but I don't think I'm smart enough to not have a LSP and an autocomplete. Older games do tend to be easier to reverse engineer. That doesn't mean they are easy, but they're certainly easier than, like, I don't know, Fortnite or something written with Unreal 5 or whatever horror that, it goes into those games. Because also the optimization is much more in-depth, sort of aggressive on modern compilers. So the code you write almost looks nothing like the assembler that comes out the other end. So that becomes even harder to go back. Okay, so we'll return true, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hash include fstream and then do stud ofstream. I don't know, let's call it log glide 3x.log. That seems as good as any, and then stud ios app. So we'll just append to it. So this is just going to create a file that we can write to, and it will always append to it. So whenever accidentally, I did this before when I reset the log every time, and then I was like, oh, I'd accidentally restart the program and I'd lose my log. And then we just do like log. Hello. Seems about as good as any. So let's try that. If that works, let's do cmake build dot, and if that works, we'll just always copy that out. So let's do Diablo 3 3dfx. Unsupported graphics mode. What have I done wrong? Why is it not like that? File glide 3x DLL. Definitely a 32 executable. Strange. What have I done? Where have I gone wrong? Because when I first did this, I accidentally built it all in 64-bit because I've kind of forgot Diablo's quite an old game and only 32-bit. But this is definitely a 32-bit file. It's, if I call it the right thing. Let's go back to Ghidra. So this is a large part of what I cut out in the videos because I appreciate this, for most viewers, is probably not that interesting of me going, well, it certainly should work. It's definitely there. Why is that? It's definitely there. It's definitely executable. Supported graphics mode. Strange. Oh, I wonder if is it because I've not? Ah, okay, fine. It's in the, so we've actually got the log, right? Here you go. Hello world. Hello. I should put a new line on the end of that. Okay, it's failing because well, I'll show you why it's failing, and I remember this now. Hello, Ghidra. Hello. Nope. All this crap at the bottom is checking it could find all those functions, and it's going to treat it basically, in terms of its like error handling, it treats no DLL the same as a DLL but without all the requisite functions, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that was my fault. It was working. I just forgot what the actual errors meant. Okay, so we can kind of let me just put a new line on the end of that before I forget. Okay, so we've successfully created a DLL, and we can get Diablo to load that. Obviously, it can't proceed because it's trying to resolve all those functions, but we can kind of hopefully kind of satisfy ourselves that it is indeed being loaded. So the next thing to do is we now have to implement all those functions. So when I first did this, I went through, I think I copied all the strings out of Ghidra and implemented them all manually. But the problem with that is you don't know the return types, you don't know how many arguments it's got. It's going to cause a whole load of chaos. So what I ended up finding was this, which is the source is the source code from the 3dfx glide for Voodoo graphic accelerators. It's forked from the original CBS repo, and it's got some license in it, which is what I was talking about earlier. So inside here is a hello, good file. Is a glide 3x.h, I think. Let me just check what it's called. Glide.h, right? Somewhere in here is a glide.h file. I couldn't tell you what the difference between H3 and H5 was. I just went for the highest number. I assume it's different versions, possibly, but who knows? H5's got to be better than H3, or at least 2 better. So inside here is the header file for all the Glide API. It's got all the types, it's got all the hash defines, but most importantly, right at the bottom, it's got all the functions, and it's got all the correct return types and argument types. So, and this is just a header file, right? So this is just a declaration. So what I did is take that, and then I just took a copy of that, and now it's, you know, it's my code now. So then what I can do is I can just basically start implementing all these. Press dot on GitHub to open VS Code. I didn't know that. I stopped using VS Code maybe about a year ago, switched back to Vim, or I set up like near Vim. Actually, no, less than that. I probably stopped using it 6 months ago. I really like VS Code, but I'm kind of enjoying Tmux, WSL, and NeoVim at the moment. So what I then did is I took all these functions, which I think is from here, down to 936. So yanked 936G, take all those, and then I shove them all in here. And then basically I put in, what I'll do now is I'll super quickly just go through and put like an empty implementation in for all of these. So if I can just tidy this up a bit, and no one is really here to see me be like a code janitor, but okay, fine. So it's not too much. So what we'll do is we will do QA, go to the end, put an empty implementation, go down to press Q. So we should be able to start just using a macro for these. That's not going to work, so we'll go down to there, 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 there. Study. I appreciate this is not fun for anyone, least of all me, but we'll get there in the end. I'm sure there's a Vim wizard out there who'll be like, you're wasting your time, you could have done this with like 30 continuous keystrokes, which would have just done the whole thing. But here I am. I'm not even looking at the comments at this because I imagine everyone is just despairing. We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. I can feel it. Okay, right. So here we are. So now we'll see if this blends, which it absolutely will not, because yeah, it's missing a load of other types. So that header file doesn't unfortunately include everything. So all we can do now is go through and just find out what we're missing. So it seems to be the main one it's missing is int 917. Oh, is it because do I not have fx entry defined? So what I'll do is I'm going to find that. What I will do is I will, in fact, actually I'll cheat because I know I have this checked out somewhere. So what we'll use is we'll just search in this for hash define fx entry, was it? There we go. So this is in the fx dll.h file. Oh no, these were empty definitions. I suppose I still need it. So this is one. So I've got some notes off screen from what I did in the video, and I remember finding this 3dfx file, which I need. This has a load of other types into it. This has got all the fx entry stuff in it. It's because they do this spacing in the hash define. So what I'll do is I'll find 3dfx.h, which was in fx misc apparently. Sure. Yeah, so here, this is it here. So what I'll do is I'll go raw and copy that, and then I can go here, control that, then we get that, and then bring that back up. So hopefully see if that is a little bit happier. Still missing some stuff. What are we missing? Oh, if I don't put a return value in the non-void function, I'll get at least get a warning, but I'll treat it as an error, and I'll just basically put in some default value just to get us going. Syntax error void should be preceded by a semicolon, so I'm assuming that probably means I've still got a missing type. Oh no, hang on. You know what I've not done is I've not actually included either of these. And what was it? What was the other one I had? Was it glide? Glide H, right? I prefer a bit funny about my includes. I prefer standard library, platform, third party, project. Just the way I've done it before. Right. Okay. I might keep that a little bit happier. Okay, fine. So can I open 3dfx? Did I not just bring this in? Glide itself cannot bring in that header file. That's fine. We'll figure that out. What's this expecting? Blah, 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 blah. Because it's a... Just change that. And then it can't find, glide sys.h, so I'm just going to find that. All I did was just slowly fill in all the rando headers that I need until I got them all. So glide sys.h. It's not, I believe we don't need too many of them. Get that one, and then what was the other one? Was sst1vid.h, one of my favorites, an absolute classic. vid.h. H5, sure, sounds about as good as any of the others. And then I've not set up as a system include, it's just a local include, so I will just cheat, change that, see if that blends. Getting better. Glide util.h. We're near there, guys. I can feel it. I can feel it. I think there's some chat going on about Vulkan and different rendering APIs. There was a super chat. Thank you very much appreciated. Give that a little heart. This will still not work because I imagine it's doing it as a system path, because C++ obviously has multiple different ways of finding header files. Yep, so it's in the glide.h file. Where? 8. I don't know. Far be it for me to say how to write your device drivers and your code. I find a header file like that's 847 lines in is a little bit strange. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Yeah, let me go through. Yeah, so now it's basically saying these functions return a value and you've not returned everyone. So we'll go figure all that out. So if anyone's asking what all this is just macros that the glide wrapper defines in order to basically say it's kind of like what shape your function should be, as in like what ABI it should have. So fx entry is marking it as extern, and fx call is marking it as std call. Std call, cdecl, they're just calling conventions. They basically just provide a standard of how you actually control pass execution from from code to a function. Like, how do you pass the arguments? You know, do they go in registers? Do they go on the stack? Who's responsible for cleaning up the stack? All these kind of things. It's just a standard for interchange between functions. And the standard for Windows on 32-bit, I think, is cdecl, and then Voodoo says, nope, we're going to use std call, and so it provides that. Should it say DL spec, DL export? Quite possibly. Why did it not say that? That's a good point. I can't remember if you mark it as extern, if it automatically exports it as well, but it's a nitty-gritty detail. It should all work. Yeah, so, and these just, because it's a massive pain to keep writing all that, they've just basically hash defined it. So you can say, you know, this is specific to that library. So have a quick check through the chat, see what I've missed. But yeah, Vulkan is it's this sort of newer generation of graphics APIs like DirectX 12, Metal, I guess, as well, and Vulkan that kind of does give you full control over the underlying hardware, or designed to give you full control over the underlying hardware. OpenGL makes a huge amount of us, and DirectX 11 as well, kind of make a lot of assumptions for you. It makes the programming slightly easier because it does a lot of magic and a lot of optimizations under the hood. But because of those assumptions, if you are want to be right on, I know those assumptions and those optimizations will probably work for I don't know 90% of people. But if you want to be on the bleeding edge, if you kind of don't want those assumptions to be made for you, then that's where these new APIs come into play. They basically say we'll do nothing for you. You have to figure out how to manage your own memory on the graphics card. You have to figure out how to synchronize. You have to figure out marshal data between the CPU and the GPU with fences and stuff like that. And then so the API is incredibly complex, but you get incredible control over it. I would argue that Vulkan for me is like a curiosity. It's kind of fun to have a look at. If I was to ever make a game, I would not probably use Vulkan. It's just way more complex than I would have the time to fully master. I strongly suspect that any Vulkan code I write would be less efficient than the equivalent OpenGL, because I'm not a graphics expert and I don't know enough to fully leverage, all the flexibility it gives you. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. So all I gotta do now is just go and fix these up. So anywhere where, so grst, this is twin open. So this returns, I don't know, well, I'm just going to cheat, and I'm basically going to say return whatever value you want, just default initialize it. So if it's an integer, it will return 0, and we'll call it a day for the moment. Loads of them. Those are the buggers. But yeah, if you're using an engine, it should all be abstracted for you. You shouldn't have to worry too much about the specifics of like how you're communicating with the graphics card. You should be more probably concerned with actually making a game that is fun. I'd like to do maybe some game dev at some point. It might be fun to do it on. I've had an idea of maybe doing something on stream at some point. Maybe later down the line, but it might be fun to kind of build a game from scratch on Windows in OpenGL, like almost like entirely from scratch, like do all the windowing, the event handling, all the OpenGL stuff, and just see kind of how far we can get. Okay, done. Right, so in theory, this should now, I was going to say work, but that is absolutely not what I meant. This should now run. Yeah, I guess similar to the Handmade series, although my understanding is the Handmade series isn't that kind of like a tutorial as well? Like you kind of broken down to lessons that you follow along. I would just do it live on stream and just see where we got to. I don't know if I think I'd probably use OpenGL 3 at least 4. Maybe not go full as though, but I think using the fixed function pipeline stuff in 1.4 is a little bit out of date now. I mean, for a basic game, it probably doesn't matter, but I still think there's some fun stuff to be done in 3 and 4. It might be fun to go try and go full as though. Okay. Still saying I've got an unsupported graphics mode, which is a little bit sad, but what have I missed? Ah, yes. Okay, this is fun. This is fun. Hold on one moment. Spoilers. So actually, I think someone might be right. I think that should have been declaral export. I think we need to first of all change that because another tool that you might come across is CFF Explorer. It helps you explore Windows libraries and binaries, and I don't have an export directory, so this library that I built currently isn't exporting any functions. So let's change that to decal. Someone had it earlier. I've already forgotten what it was. I'm surprised I didn't need it. I'm just looking through my notes now. What did I change it? Yes, I did. I did change it. Decal spec. So thank you whoever pointed that out, and I dismissed. I was wrong, and you're right. So this is the magical rune that you draw in the sand when you're building a Windows library, which says this function is DLL. I would actually like someone who is loading this DLL to be able to call it. So let's see if that works. I think I already have. I will double check, but I believe I'm already extern seed up the wazoo. It makes the it makes the function public, yeah, but not in the sense of like an object public. It makes it exported from the DLL, so the DLL will have information effectively its metadata, which says how it should be loaded. Still getting that, but that's fine because I think this is the actual other error along the way. Let's just see if that's fixed that. Okay, right. So this was it before. Nothing. This is it now. Export directory. And these are all the functions. Now, something interesting here, and this tripped me up for quite a bit when I was doing it myself. You know, late into the evening. Oh, hang on, super chat. Let's switch that. Purely hypothetical. If I wanted to reverse engineer a specific flag in StarCraft 2, but the game closes instantly after I attach it to a debugger, what should I do? Also, find nothing with Ghidra. Which version of StarCraft 2? So I've not looked at StarCraft 2, but if it closes instantly after it's been attached to a debugger, it probably has anti-debugging techniques. So those are code that is baked into the game, which will detect the presence of a debugger and immediately kill itself to prevent you doing stuff like that. So the game then is, how do you bypass those? And I can't really give a guide now because it's very specific to the game. But if you Google Windows or Win32 anti-debugging techniques. There's a few blog posts, excuse me, which detail them all. I would just start at the top and go down and see if you can figure out if any of those are being used. Okay, so I've exported all my symbols. So this name column here is the important one, because this is what this is the name that you will need to pass to load library in order to call your function. And you'll notice that it's got an @ and then a number at the end. It turns out that in Windows land, by default, when you compile something for std call, it decorates the function. It effectively applies its own name mangling. So it changes all your function names, so you can't find them. I think I briefly looked at the history, and the reason for this, it's because I think it's to let you know that this is using std call rather than accidentally, because you can't call cdeco call from std call and vice versa. You can't mix and match APIs. It'll be chaos. So I think this is the way of saying to someone, this is not right. This is std call. Are you sure this is what you want? So then we have to go and fix this. And I'm not going to type it all out because it's an absolute pain. I'm going to copy it from my other one, which is, what did I call it? I think I just called it glide. Oh, sorry, wrong directory. Right, copy glide 3. I'll get there in a minute. Glide 3. Glide 3x.def. Right, let's grab a copy of that and then open it up here, and I'll show you what this does. So a def file is a specific Microsoft construct for building for the linker stage, and it basically says, here is all my exports. And basically, if you manually list them all here with an ordinal number, which just gives it a unique integer, this will undo that name mangling, whatever you want to call it. And then this embeds those symbols. So this, after this should in theory, although I've said that several times tonight, this should in theory then do what we want to do. And I think, if I remember correctly, lists. Nope. You can just provide this to the as a source file and make sure it goes to the right place, and then not only does it go to the right place, the MSVC compiler then picks it up, passes it to the linker, and sorts it all out. Oh, right, okay, fine. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so why is it still? Why? What have I missed? Let me run CMake again. If this doesn't work, then I'll just pinch what I've got from the project that does work, rather than trying to recreate it live. Okay, right. Still getting the unsupported graphics mode. I can't think what else I'm missing, because let's have a quick look. Yeah, I did add the def. That's a good point, but I did add the def file there. Let me just check my notes from when I did this for the video. So it's got no definitely exports it, definitely does that. Why was that not git diff? I haven't even set up a git repo for this, but oh, hang on. Let's try it. Unsupported graphics mode. It's very sad. What am I? I've either missed a function, which seems unlikely. I could step through this with a debugger and see what's happening. Let's do that. So if I run this in the debugger, and then let me get up Ghidra, and then let's find this function here. Let's just check we get into it and just check we are loading things. So I'm just going to break on that function which does the loading. See it here, it calls load library and then get proc address, and then slowly resolves all these functions. It's interesting. It moves the address of get proc address into ESI and then just calls ESI each time. Don't know why. Am I here? Okay, fine. So let's just step over this. Options, appearances, font. Just make it so it's easier for you guys to see. Save. Okay, right. So we're gonna get called load library, and we got a handle back. So it definitely found the library. And in fact, we know it's finding the library because it wrote the log file. So let's go just check that it is interesting. So it's failing that call to ESI. So we can see here it's the argument. It's going to call ESI, which is get proc address. In fact, that says it here, and then we can see the arguments are the handle to the binary to the DLL and then the function name. So and it's returning 0. So it's still not finding our functions. I've made a grave error somewhere. I'm just gonna see if I can think really hard and find out what it is. Copying the return address into ESI makes sense to reserve the original call address in the register context if an exception occurs. So the original context. But I mean, why would it? There's no difference between that and just it resolving just calling the function by address each time, right? So lots of suggestions coming in, which is why I do like doing a kind of a live debugging. So, oh, I see what you mean. Yes. Okay. Fine. Yes, because the AXX covered. I'm pretty sure this is fine. I'm checking against the version I wrote, which worked for. That seems fine. These all seem fine. The def file I literally copied from the working one. That's a good point. Let's double check on CFF Explorer. Refresh this. Get that. Yeah, see, it's got all the It's definitely 32-bit executable. It's definitely called glide 3x or DLL. It's definitely in the right place, and in the export directory, it definitely has all the function names. So I've really struggled to see why it wouldn't like that. If the build is successful, then I copy it over. I'm happy to just manually copy it over as well. Cannot create. Oh, hang on. it won't let me do that at the moment because I've got it under a debugger, so let's just stop that. Actually, that's the point. Let's run it under the debugger, and then get to the point where it loads the library. So it's loaded the library. So now we can go into symbols. We can find glide, and yeah, see, it's got them all here. Unless I'm missing some, unless I literally could just be missing some. So let's just go down to where it calls. So here it's going to goo gamma correction RGB. So let's just see if we've got that. Okay, so I'm obviously missing some. Great, thanks. I don't know why the I don't know why the header file with all the functions doesn't give you all the functions. Right, okay, fine. Did I goo? What was it called? I've already forgotten now. Goo gamma correction. That's interesting because I haven't got that defined in my other ones. So there must be something else that I'm missing that is more important than that. Let's keep on trucking with the debugger and see where we get to. So now we're going to try goo-fog table index. So no goo-fog. Oh, have I got a... Some of these start with... so these all start with GR. Am I missing some that's supposed to start with GU as well? So I don't have those either. That's fine. Those aren't in my actual one. So let's keep going to one that I actually kind of expect to have. I don't care about this. GR draw point, right? Okay, so it's found that. So why is it found that? Unless, okay, fine. Let's do this. Let's run to the end of the function and see what it returns, because that will then give us an indication of whether it's failing in this function or somewhere else, and just reporting that as a different error, which I've got in my mind might be a thing that I had to deal with. I want the ret. Here we go. Right. Okay. So let's just copy that, bring that out of the way. Go. Here you go. Ret here. Put a breakpoint here. F9 down to the end. Okay. So we got to the end, and EX is 1. Okay. Fine. So I think 1 is success. So I think this has actually found all the functions. In fact, actually, look, we can see here that x64debug has filled in the resolved function name. So it's definitely found all these addresses. So jump not equal, but aha, right. It calls gr get, and then immediately discards the return value. Cool, thanks. Let's keep going. Oh, that just popped up. So must have been this call here, and then one of the calls in here. I think what we can do is start putting in some log code to see which functions we're calling and how far we're getting. Because I think the code is definitely loading now. So I think that'd be fine. So let's do std OF stream glog, and then if the f2do the fdoer reason is equal to DLL process attach. Then we'll do this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do glog is equal to std stream, and then glog. Right. Okay. And then what we can do is start. So we know grget was called, right? So let's just do glog. Actually, let's do something else. Let's do template pass args void log std string view format args and let's bring in format, and then we can do glog std. I think I have to use v format for this, obviously, because it's because it won't be able to, because the why do you need to use v format? Because I think at compile time it can't ascertain whether all the arguments are typed correct. I think this is, you have to bundle them up. To be honest, I can't remember. I just remember when I did this last time I had to use v format over format, which you know, doesn't sound great. Right. Okay, fine. So now I've got a log function. So now in theory I should be able to start doing something like log gr draw point, and then if I wanted to, I could pass in some arguments. But I think we'll just start building this out to start with. Let's check our template encode is right. It often is wrong. I've got it under the debugger, so I can't do it. Okay, fine. So let's do grget. Log grget, and that takes a p name, p length, and a params. Yeah, I'm not kind of redoing it live just for my own misery. No, just to kind of oh, thank you for the super like. Thank you very much appreciated. Just as a kind of way of giving a chance to go into a bit of a deeper dive, because I have to cut out a lot of stuff as part of the YouTube video, so it's kind of fun just to kind of go through a lot of this with people. You're right, you can't format a pointer, but you can if you static cast it to void star. Because then it will just print it out as a hex, as a hex in hex. Nailed it. Okay, right. So let's just get rid of our log file and run this again. So this is fail. That's fine, and then go through .log. Okay, fine. So we're calling this get with this whatever these arguments are. So what we could do is try and figure out where this is failing. So we could print them all in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a bit of guilty knowledge and just say that I know at some point I think it calls gr glide in it, and it definitely calls sst win open. So I'm just gonna a little bit of guilty knowledge, just to see if we're getting this far. Okay, so it's only getting to the gr get. I think the thing is, if I remember correctly, at some point that gr get has to return a value, and if it doesn't get the right value, then it craps out. So we get there. So I will. What's the time? So we'll go for a little bit longer. I think I'll keep doing this for a little bit longer. If people are, I just need to go and grab some more water quick. So I'll be back in just like 1 second. So hopefully people don't drop off. I will literally be back very quickly. Apologies, I'm back. Hopefully people are still here. Okay, right, so going for a little bit longer. I'm going to see if we can at least get to the point where the game like crashes out because we've not fully implemented some of the functions, but at least it's kind of getting past the initialization. Yes, you can use _func for function processes in C++. There is now, as of 20, stood source location, which has some special compiler magic which does it all for you, which means you don't need the macros. Yeah, that's how you can kind of build out proper logging frameworks. Did I really lose that many people? I needed some water, and cat has snuck in as well. Oh, get out of there. Them's the breaks. Okay, so I also needed a bathroom break as well, which is more pertinent. But I understand time is precious for people and they don't want to waste it watching a back soon screen, so that's my fault. Okay, so I'm just looking at the code I wrote for the video, and grget, I basically never fully reverse engineered grget because it wasn't really that interesting to me. I think I basically return 0 in almost all the situations apart from some very specific ones where you need an actual value. So I'm wondering if it's one of those. So let's have a look at grget 15. Okay, so where am I? Sorry, let's go 3F8. I'll get there in a minute. Glide 3x. Oh no, fine, grget. Let's actually go to the function itself. So it's very hot in this room and I'm slowly losing my sanity. It's the P name. Now somewhere there exists, I found it before, I'm just trying to remember how I found it, a list of all the grget parameters that might be in the docs. I'm hoping there's going to be a table somewhere with them all in. So anyway, I think grget is a way of just querying the sort of the state machine for various bits of data. And I need to map those back. Where is the name of them? That's what I can't remember. I'm trying to remember how I found it as well. SG, so gr bits depth. So I think I might have got them out of this test function here. I think this. Oh, here you go. There's a hash define for them. Nope. Where is? Yeah, where's this live? Gr fog table. Basically, somewhere there exists this. Here we go. This is it. The grget gr types. So this exists in the glide code, and this is all the things that you can pass as that first parameter. So I had 15, and I don't think I was printing as hex. So what's that in hexadecimal? Because I can't. F. So G num boards. Yes, thank you. I can't do hex. I can barely do like decimal arithmetic in my head. So gr num boards. I remember now. So I then started searching around for gr. So this was very unscientific. I didn't reverse engineer this. I just started searching around for like gr num boards. And I found somewhere. Where was it? Maybe it wasn't this one, but there's somewhere. There's like this like correct. Yeah, this test file here has the correct values, whatever that means, for a lot of these. So I just ended up returning all of these. So I think we can start doing that. So num boards returns. So I guess I'm if pname equals gr num boards. I will admit, I reverse engineered and spent a lot of time doing all this. There was one bit where I did cave and I did reverse engineer the Sven wrapper to find out what the answer was, because I could not figure it out. And it was what is the return value for this? And what Svenny boy does is I don't know why. But I'm sure there's a reason for it. But I will admit that this was the one thing I did actually cave and look up. So for this, we do have to have this kind of little bit of magic here. Maybe a little bit disappointing to people that I didn't spend time doing it. But I was like, I cannot progress past this. I don't know what this is supposed to be. So that's fine. Right, so run this. Still get the error. Interesting. Got a different error now. This is it. So this progresses past that. So this is the bit I wanted to get to. So error 23. So we're now 22 errors on from error 1. A critical error has occurred while initializing glide. So we have progressed past that. And then we get it calls the glide in it, calls the SST win open, and it calls grget again with 5. So. And I'm pretty sure I can work out what 5 is in hex and in decimal. So the gamma table entries, and this is where I go, the correct number is 32. So then we just start filling all these in. So actually switch pname case the default out at the end, and then case gr already forgot what it was. Gr get 5, which is 3, which is go back. Hang on. Gr gamma table entries. Gr gamma table entries. In this case, we return whatever the correct number is. 64. Obviously, we all know that the correct number of gamma table entries is 64. It doesn't make sense to have any other number. So build that again. I've messed up somewhere. Was it 32, not 64? Oh, kind of. Oh, that was the fog. Obviously, 64 is the correct number of fog table entries, obviously. It's kind of fun doing this with people because normally on evenings I'm sort of bashing my head against this by myself. And so it's kind of fun to get on with it. Kind of fun to have someone to chat to, or you know, at least complain loudly to when it doesn't work. Okay, I'm not at the point where I'd stop, but I'm kind of having fun. Hopefully people are having fun. I've kind of lost a bit of the... There's a tangent that's gone off in the chat, which I've not been following, so apologies. But if people are still interested in this, go for a little bit longer. I'm not planning on getting any more water, so hopefully people can stay around for a little bit longer. But at least I think we'll see if we can kind of get through this gr get misery, and see where we go from there. Yeah, so this is Windows terminal under WSL. So everything I run, if I run I can run a Linux binary, Windows binary through it, and it just magically runs the Windows binary for me. It doesn't use wine or anything like that. It actually just spawns up a Windows process. So yeah, hopefully everyone's been enjoying it. Like I said, I might do this next week. I try and stream once a week, so I might pick this up next week, and we can at least go through some of the Glide API. Like, I think pulling out the images is kind of fun, and doing the decoding of the textures. So it might be that we pick this up again next week. I was only planning on doing this once, but we haven't got as far as I thought I would, because it turns out I've forgotten quite a lot of this in the preceding weeks since I finished it. So 42, which is 2A. Bits gamma. So what do we reckon is the correct number of bits gamma? Eight, obviously. That was going to be my first guess. I'm glad people are paying attention. So that's done, and then run it, crash, bat it. 40. Why did it not like that? I feel like that should have worked. Let's just rm the glide log, and then we will run it again, get the error, let it out, grget. Unless it's now hitting another function, what I need to do is actually put a print statement in all of these to print out the name of all the functions, but I can't imagine that's going to be particularly fun for anyone. So I might cheat a little bit. Yeah, but it's because I want to print out the name, so I could. So what you could do is just do what fg yank equals down paste in log boom 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 boom. Call it a day there, and then will that nailed it. Won't work for the multi-line ones, where we can actually just cheat and just put those on one line. I don't want help now. Again, more formatting, which is of no fun to anyone, but here we are. I think I know. I'm getting a strange memory of what this next failing function is, but I would like to prove it is the case rather than kind of randomly guessing. I messed up? Where have I messed up? Broke the SST window one. Glad someone's paying attention. Oh, I did. Look at that. Eagle-eyed. Is it because it had a return? Okay, fine. That's... Yeah, okay. Just, do... I was just like zen then. I was in the zone and absolutely not paying attention to anything I was doing. That's is it ruined my macro? No, I don't say it's ruined my macro. No, that's fine. Whew. I would have been unhappy. Everyone having fun out there? Return, return, return. Come back, do this in a second. Yeah, I think I missed the ones with return functions, to be honest. I think I've got enough now to... Oh no. My macro stopped working. Let's build that till we get there. Yes, gr load gamma table, obviously. Oh no, it's not, because it doesn't return anything, I don't think, unless I have to do something special. Right, okay, fine, we need to finish these off. Kind of, yes, I guess I'm kind of cross-compiling it. I'm using the wine build of MSVC, which means, although it gets built on Linux, it goes through wine and kind of invokes MSVC to produce a Windows binary. It's kind of like a weird way of working, but it works for me. Right. QA. Nope. QA. Go to the start. FG, yank E, down, paste. Okay, fine. I think I know where the mistake is. I now need to create a new line, then paste it in, then go in log Q, thinking that might handle it. Nailed it. I'm a Vim wizard. It's nice because I remember doing all this for the video, so it's nice that not only do I get to suffer through it all again, I get to share that misery with all of you live. So, you know, silver lining. Oh, so close. I was about to say, just give up here, but you never know. We might need GRLFB right region. It's impossible to say. Right, okay. I think that's going to give us enough to get on with. Double print on line 505. You sure? Double log? Where? 555. There you go. It's because I put that one in there earlier and I was just on autopilot. Okay, alright, let's run Diablo again. Let's go that. Okay, fine. Okay, so it's calling RDLL, grget, grglide init, gsst select, and then it's going grwin close, getting two values, loading the gamma tail, then calling grglide shutdown. Why is it calling grglide shutdown? Let me check my notes. I'm kind of surprised it's not calling... Let's try this. Right, okay. Doesn't like grSST when open because this returns a gr context 0, and let's see if we can find a cool site for that in the code. Might make what I'm going to say a little bit more, make a bit more sense. So let's go to the top. So SST win. GRSST win open. Right, so let's find. So again, proc address. It's loaded that, stuck it in this global memory. So we'll go here. Where calls this? So somewhere calls this. Here, and then it basically checks if it's 0, then does this thing, else does this thing. And I think, if I remember correctly, so hopefully that makes sense, right? It's calling grSST when open, and then it's checking if the return value is 0, which in C++ land, because this is a integral type, and I default initialize it, this will be returning 0. So I am taking this code path here, and this function, and then if I remember correctly, one of these, so this is doing some memory, this is sorting some critical section stuff. I'm sure one of these, if I remember correctly, causes the program to terminate. I'm trying to figure out how I worked that out last time. It's kind of hard when I know the answer. This will mean let's chuff. How do I figure this out? I quite like the default initialization. I think it prevents you accidentally zero initializing or sort of uninitializing your variables. Also, kind of avoids the most vexing paths where you accidentally define a function rather than construct an object. The problem is though is that because C++ is so concerned with backwards compatibility and not breaking it, it can kind of only ever add new features. So there's like, I think last time I checked, I think there's like 20 ways of initializing an integer now. So, you know, I mean, I don't know if that is a strong selling point for a language that you have such flexibility over how you initialize an integer, but it sure is what we've got. Somewhere in here it calls it unloads the library, but basically to cut a long story short, is it this one? No. There you go. To cut a long story short, back. This is the failure case, and in fact what I want to do is continue down this successful case. So the easiest thing to do is not resize Ghidra, is to return 1. Yeah, I find it such an interesting point. The fact that std array doesn't default initialize on the constructor is annoying. I get why. It's because it's supposed to be a wrapper around a C-style array, which means internally it's implemented with a C-style array, which does not get default initialization as part of the language. So you would be, I guess, applying, you know, you only pay for what you use and all that sort of stuff. You would be getting, you know, it's not necessarily a drop-in replacement for a C-style array if it does something extra. I think in 2024, we shouldn't be worried about the cost of default initializing our std arrays. But what do I know? I'm not on the standards committee. Okay, right, I'm going to clean this file up and run it again. Okay, nice. So now we're getting a little bit further. I find it hard to believe that there's that many GR SST win closes. But maybe there is. Let's have a look at one. Oh, I think this also has to return fx true. Otherwise, I think it tries to close the window, because actually what the game does is actually creates multiple windows. It creates different ones for the beginning intro cinematic. It creates one window for that, and then it destroys it and creates another one for the next intro cinematic, and then it destroys that and creates one for the game. So here we go. So it calls gr finish and the load gamma table. So what does gr finish do? That's a void function. So what are we not doing now? I think there's something. Do I have to do anything? So the SST when open function is interesting because it actually gives you this here is a window handle. So and it gives you all this information about the window itself. So this is kind of where you would do. This is where you would do your initial like creation of your contexts for interfacing with the graphics API. So I think like SDL or Glue or whatever or Vulkan, you have to construct an OpenGL window around an existing one. So you kind of get given that and then all the information to do that. So this is quite nice. This makes that hooking, well, that sort of window creation bit quite easily. What I can't figure out is why I don't get to the draw calls. I was expecting, just check my notes, I was expecting to get some draw calls, but alas, I am not. Yeah, let's just, I think I've got to get in the habit of deleting the old one because it's just so much chuff otherwise. So let's pull that. Okay. So, we got some more. So after the win open, we get some more GR get. So we need to go and fill those in, obviously. Some of those are have correct values. I think let's just see if we can get to some draw calls, and then we can maybe. I think I'm wrapping this up for today, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so 10, 11, 17, and 19. I think also what I will do is, for my own sanity, print that out in hex. Okay, so we've got A and B, texture size and texture aspect ratio. GR texture. I'm sure it said size. Am I going mad? Max texture size. Max texture size and GR, what was it on? Max texture aspect ratio. Aspect ratio, and let's see if we've got the correct ones of those. 2, 5, 6, and 3, obviously. I have never used Radare or Radare 2. I've only ever used GDB, and I think that might be I think the issue there might be with me rather than with anything else. I've heard it's like an incredible tool. I've never not been able to do whatever I want with GDB. But yeah, I'm very much an advocate of being master of your tools, and the more tools you know and the more tools that you are better with, then the easier your life tends to become. So it's just sort of ignorance on my end that I've not had any sort of put any time into it. Right, let's keep going. We're nearly there. Nearly there. We're nearly at a point where I think it might be sensible to stop and pick this up next week. So 11, 13, and 24. NumFB, TMU. Yeah, I really like the, like you say, the GDB tmux kind of work, style of work, so maybe I should look into it. But like I say, GDB works pretty well for me. NumTMU would be 1. And then 11, 13. Oh, sorry, I've got NumFB before that. So I'm going to assume that is the number of frame buffers, which I think I saw was... Oh, steady. Was 2. And then 24 was texture align. Which is 8. And then E, nearly there guys, nearly there. memory UMA. And my correct memory UMAs is not on there. Did I return in the actual one? I sure did. Sure did guess at one. I can't see why you'd have more than one UMA. 5 is gamma table entries. Do we already have that? We do. Done that one. And then I'm hoping the next one actually is the one we've already done before. So 2A, which is bits gamma. Right. Let's see if this blends. Sorry, I'm just kind of, this is not the interesting bit. This is just the typing on the keyboard bit. So I'm kind of blasting through this. And if I stop and think about like trying to do it clever with like find and replace some macros, then I'll probably actually spend more time than if I just zipped around the various tmux windows. Nope. Okay. What was 2A? Bit definitely had bits gamma. Sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this should work. I think there's like I know there are other issues around like the min texture address size, but it's not calling that yet, which is kind of strange. I definitely flushed the log after each one, so that's not the case. Why would it doesn't like load gamma table, or it does like it, but it's failing sometime after that. Why would that be the case? Gr load gamma table doesn't return anything. I think I use the Jeff plugin for GDB rather than PwnDB, but they're all kind of the same, I'd say. But I think using GDB with that plugin is absolutely madness. Yeah, they might be out bars, but looking at what I've done before, I don't see GR texture align in the switch. There. Yes, but I don't think they need to be set, is what I'm saying. At least, and in the one that I have that works, I don't set them. What we could do is gr load gamma table. Let's try this with. So breakpoint on that. Oh. Why is it? What am I doing wrong? Pretty sure that should work. GR get works. Yeah, but this returns 1, so I'm pretty sure this works. Is where does that get used? I suppose we could. I don't know why it's why it's not letting me look at the the address of those. Let's do this. What? Fine. Okay, fine. I've reloaded it in strange. What have I done wrong? This doesn't look like code to me. This looks like gibberish. Let's get a Ghidra up. Oh my goodness. One of my windows have the same colour scheme. It's hard to start grabbing them. Right, get rid of you. And then go, yeah, load gamma table. It's called from here. So let's take that and go here. Pass that here. Right, okay, so this is the point where it would call gr load gamma table. I found that via Ghidra, by the way, so I went to just Ghidra and I found the call site for it, and then I just plugged that address straight into here. grget needs to write the value to the params pointer and return the number of bytes written. I don't think it. I'm curious to know why you think that, because evidence that I have suggests that that is not. I think I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean. I think this has to do params equals p length. Of course, debugger. We ain't got no what to do. Come off it. Okay, right. We have progressed. We've gone past these. Now it's starting to do text things, and then this is the bit I kind of wanted to get to, is it calls these gr text min address and max address. Now, if we get to the docs up, which this document I kind of lived in for 4 weeks, gr min text min address, nope, gr text min address, gr text min address. Right, so two glide functions, text min address and text max address, provide an initial upper and lower bounds on texture memory for the specific TMU, which is the texture memory unit. Basically, this basically says what's the glide kind of works by you writing into this TMU, which is, I assume, part of the silicon of the chip, and you basically get a massive array that you can write data into, and it's like, what is the minimum address and maximum address that I can write to? And that effectively gives you the range of memory that you have. I think it's got a nice diagram somewhere of this, but again, back to, and I remember, again, this was a couple of evenings of misery. FXU32, that is an integer. I return the default initialize 1. I return 0. So the min address is 0, and then the max address is 0. Oh, we're nearly at the log 2-bit. So I basically say, in my emulation of the Glide API, I say you have 0 bytes of graphics memory, and understandably, the game goes, not a lot I can do with that. So what we can do is instead returns to numeric limits fx u32 max. So why do you not like that? Not enough arguments. Windows every time Windows. Right. So this here is some C++ which returns the maximum possible value for this integral type. So I basically say, hey, game where I'm pretending to be your graphics card, the addresses you can write to are anywhere between 0 and the maximum number. So this is basically giving it like as much possible memory as possible. However, Windows, in their infinite WinSystem, in windows.h, which is the file you have to include to use any Windows stuff, defines its own max macro, and it's with a lowercase, whereas traditionally all macros are uppercase to avoid this very problem. So this here suddenly becomes a macro it tries to expand, which is why you have to say, before you include windows.h, please don't define min-max for me. So yeah, thanks Windows. Gets me every time. Gets me every time. Right. Now, the game is running. Like, I don't know if my audio is actually... I've never actually put screen audio through this. Oh, I've lost my mouse. Hang on. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, it's all gone bad. But anyway, the game now runs, which is exciting. And if we look at there's like loads of draw calls in here now. So this is it. So this is where we wanted to get to. Where's my chat window? So I'm going to stop there for the technical stuff, but I'm going to go through some questions and just like chat for a little bit. I think this was fun, and I didn't quite get as far as I thought I would, because it turns out I can't actually remember what I did a week ago. Also because I'm working on another video which is pretty low level at the moment, so that's kind of occupying a lot of my sort of headspace at the moment. Spoiler alert, it's probably going to be another keygen, or at least be a part of it. Yes, Windows has really funny about its include order. WinSock in particular, you have to get the rune, you have to draw the runes in the sand in a very specific order in order to be able to use their socket functions. So for C and C++, for want to learn to work with like reverse engineering code, it's kind of I'm trying to formulate my thoughts. Like, I think C is a great language to learn as an introduction to low-level concepts. Like, if you've done Python or JavaScript or C#, I think C, I was discussing this with someone the other day, I think C gives you a really good introduction into things like memory management and pointers and the concept of undefined behavior and all that kind of stuff without having all the complexity that comes with C++. Like, I think if you want to, as like a stepping stone, I would probably recommend people learn like Python and then C and then C++, because C++ is such a vastly complex language. It's unbelievable. And a lot of that would get in the way of those low-level concepts. If you want to do reverse engineering, you have to know how pointers work. You have to know how memory allocation works. You have to have an idea of ABIs and how arguments actually pass the functions under the hood and what a register is. And I think C gives you like a really good intro to that, because the language itself is so simple. It's powerful, but it's quite a simple language. But if you want to then reverse engineer something anyone has written probably in the last 20 years, and it's a big program, it's probably going to be in C++. So that's a bit of a generalization, but like you at some point you'll have to kind of get over the misery of like, what does template produced code look like, and why is the standard library get compiled in such like miserable assembly. So you again end up needing both. But I think if you're kind of focused on the reverse engineering side, I would probably start writing some simple C programs and then start reverse engineering them and kind of see how you get on. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that. Apologies for the brief intermission halfway through, as I needed a quick comfort break. Thank you for those who stuck around. So just editing specific places in a binary can't possibly work as substitute for compiling actual source into executable. I think those are kind of achieving two different things. Like patching a binary to do something different is a different skill to kind of reverse engineering the whole thing. So yeah, I think they're both kind of skills that you would want. Like patching binaries is tricky in its own right, because you're limited normally in the amount of space you've got. You can't, got to be careful you don't trash any of the other instructions that do something important. So then you have to put in like trampolines and routes and stuff like that. So that has a whole set of like knowledge and stuff that goes along with it. But compiling actual source code into an executable and looking like kind of going back, I think that's just an excellent gateway into this kind of thing. Yeah, so I mean, but you don't have to patch a binary. You can patch the memory. So if you look back at, as a bit of a plug, if you look back at some of my older videos that come from live streams, we built a memory process hacking framework on stream, which allows you to interact with the process as it's running. And a lot of those have been cut up into like almost tutorial style videos. They're kind of like just me talking through the technical stuff. So you can run a program and interact with its memory, as it's executing. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. I am considering. I'm really enjoying streaming, and I definitely want to keep it up. I try and stream every Sunday at 8 p.m. UK time, and then all these get put up on my YouTube channel for anyone to watch afterwards. I'd kind of like to stream a little bit more, at least of all because you can't actually get into the Twitch affiliate program unless you stream. I think it's like 7 different days in a 30-day period. So I'm considering, but I think doing this kind of stream like more than once a week would cause my brain to melt. So I'm considering doing something a little bit more lighter, as to kind of in between these kind of weekend streams, play some games or something like that. I don't really know. I'm terrible at games. I don't know what I'd play, but if anyone has any thoughts, and we can just chat software and reverse engineering and stuff, I think that might be a bit fun. No, I don't have a Discord just because I literally do not have the. Unfortunately, I just do not have the time. I do have an X account, but I don't use it. It is my name, and it has my mug as the display picture, but I don't use it. Yeah, I might try and add some more streams doing something a bit less burdensome. Factorio might be a fun one. I quite like Factorio. I'm terrible at it. Like, I'm terrible at all games, but it might be quite fun to break these up. But I still plan on doing something technical at least every Sunday, doing something technical. I think next Sunday we'll just pick this up and finish this off. I would quite like to get to the bit where we can at least dump the textures and maybe start looking at some of the Vulkan stuff. But yeah, but do come along. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Thank you very much for coming along. It's been great fun, and I'll see you all next week.